quotes from Bruce Arians, making it clear that eventually Antonio Brown is not going to be on the Buccaneers, and he still is. Now, look, it occurred to me a little while ago as I'm trying to figure out what the motivations are here, what's really going on. He is getting paid for this week, so it isn't about money.
Right.
He's still on the team long enough into the week to get his game check for this weekend. They haven't suspended him for conduct detrimental to the team. Your pay vests on Tuesday. If they were going to take action against him, it should have happened by Tuesday. It didn't. He's on the team. He's getting his final check. Now, we've thought most of the week that this is about the Buccaneers ensuring that Antonio Brown doesn't end up with someone else for the playoff run, and that could still be part of it. Because simply due to the fact that Brown's camp finally broke their silence last night, it doesn't mean they're telling us the truth either. It's possible, as the priest once said to Elaine Bennis and David Putty, you're both going to hell. It's possible everybody's lying. It's possible nobody is dabbling in the truth on this, and we have to keep that on our radar screen as we process what was said by Antonio Brown, or more accurately, was written by someone and issued on behalf of Antonio Brown last night. And it's not, look, Jalen Hurts didn't write the letter that was sent to the Washington football team in the NFL. Somebody wrote it for him. That's what happens.
Yeah.
These guys have other things to worry about. That's why you have people. Why am I paying you? I'm paying you to write stuff that I would otherwise have to write myself. But I have an agent, and I have a lawyer, and I have people who make sure these things get handled. So somebody wrote something that Antonio Brown released last night as his statement. And it's long, probably longer than it needs to be. But the gist of it is that Antonio Brown insists he was injured. Antonio Brown addresses the fact that, he was able to run around and run off the field, but that's not the same as being able to run on the field and make your cuts and play football. There's an MRI that backs up the idea that he has a serious ankle injury. He needs surgery, and he implies that he's not going to try to play football until next year. So from his perspective, at least the impression they're creating, he's not trying to get himself to another team to finish out the season. Now, it's one thing to say it while you're still the property of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. It's another thing to say it once they've waived you, you've cleared waivers, and you can go sign with another team. So I'm not ready to say that that's 100% truthful, that this is just part of the tug of war to get him out of there.
Right.
But and look, the part of the pressure that is being placed on the Buccaneers, Chris, comes from the claim made by Antonio Brown that he told Bruce Arians, the coach of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, that he couldn't play due to injury. And Arians knew, and of course he knew. Of course he knew going into the game he was injured. But during the game, when Arians said go out and play, Antonio Brown says, I can't. And they go back and forth on that. And eventually Arians shouts, this is the claim, shouts, you're done, does the throat slash gesture, and that's the end of that for Antonio Brown. And one point I didn't mention, as you see on the screen, Antonio Brown claiming that he calls it an extremely dangerous painkiller. It's the toradol shot. You talk about it all the time.
Right.
He took the toradol shot so he could play with the painful ankle injury under pressure from his coach, Bruce Arians. So they're throwing as much mud as they can back on Arians to make him look like the bad guy in all of this.
Yeah, they definitely are. And, wide receiver would be the one position that might not actually use toradol on like a consistent basis. Quarterback as well, right? You've heard me, and we've had these conversations.
Why not?
Well, just because I guess the game's not quite as – you don't have to go out – you're not going to be expected to just knock heads off, right, and be physical all the time, right? So I do think it's one position where – those guys go, okay, yeah, I might have to block some people, but my life is not about hitting people and doing that to where, they're the highest of the level of athletes, them and DBs as far as on the NFL locker room, to where, I don't think they are as consistent as maybe offensive linemen, defensive linemen, linebackers, fullbacks, running backs, like I've told you, where teams I'm on, 90% of the team definitely in line to take a toradol shot before the football game. Then there's, a few guys who don't ever do that unless they have to, and it sounds like Antonio Brown might be in that little class there. But, yeah, this is it's CYA time. Cover your, cover your butt time from both sides here. We did dabble
in your butt, Joe Boo.
Yeah, cover your butt, Joe Boo. And we did dabble in the thought of, yes, we know the Bucs don't want Antonio Brown to go somewhere else, but Also, we knew there was some legalities here being talked about or tossed around in the back end here by the Bucs, because it is a weird way to end. They got to make sure they're not, liable in any way, doing anything wrong. The NFLPA, of course, is going to get involved in this. Go ahead. What did you want to say and add to that?
Well, no, but here's the thing. You're talking about legalities, and I don't disagree with that. But it feels more like a PR play. If this isn't about, and everybody's covering their butt here.
Yeah.
Everybody's covering their butt. Everybody is advancing a story that they want us to believe, so we side with them. I side on the truth. And the problem is, and this is so much like any piece of litigation that's out there in any court in the country, you have one side here, one side there, truth is here.
Yeah.
And that's probably what's going on in this case. But my point is, as it relates to legalities, I don't know what the legal issue would be at this point. Oh, you made me play when I was injured. Well, who doesn't at times get some sort of direct or indirect pressure? It's not like there's a cottage industry of litigation against the NFL by players who played in games when maybe they shouldn't have played. Like
but this does sound more egregious. Yeah, this does.
Right.
Yeah,
but there still isn't some big major cash prize awaiting Antonio Brown if he can prove this. It feels more like a PR play and a power play. Let's make this as ugly and awkward for the Buccaneers as we can, so they will cut me now so I can go. See, that's where it falls apart.
That's where it does fall apart a little bit. I'm glad you're going here, too, because I was really more talking about the legalities aspect of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers right here. But I was going to get there.
But that's what I'm saying. I don't know what legal I don't know what legal exposure they would have for something like this. This doesn't seem like, it seems like more of a PR problem than a legal problem to me.
Maybe you're right.
That's what I'm saying.
Maybe you're right. But I think the point you bring up about, Antonio Brown and what are they trying to accomplish through this? I guess maybe save face. That would be the first thing. Make sure you get another opportunity to play in the NFL next year, right? So it doesn't just look like you were a total misfit here and just a complete renegade in what you did. That you're, I think his camp, his side, they're trying to justify the actions that we saw on TV and have seen on social media and everything there. So I guess that would be their power play there, right, Mike? I mean, it's that or what you're kind of, I think, referring to. Or is it like some sneaky way to just, hey, get this done, get rid of me, cut me so I can go play for another team? I don't know. But it's the great unknown about this right now.
If you have a compelling story to tell as to what happened on Sunday and why you ran off the field half naked and why you believed you couldn't play and why you believe you were being pressured to play and everything associated with the message that came through in this statement, it's probably better for your long-term interest if you want to get back in the NFL to not make it all public.
I would say so, too.
Fire shots at your coach because we've seen this before and we've said this before. If you are blasting your way out the door with accusations and insults of the people in charge of the team that you're currently playing for,
that'll truly
that's
scare
make
the other
others
team.
shy away.
No doubt.
Right.
That'll truly
I don't
want to.
I don't want to be the next one. And look, that's why. And again, talent is the great deodorant for this kind of stuff, which is why the Patriots pounced on Antonio Brown the same day he was released by the Raiders after a reign of terror that lasted for a full month, where it was dysfunction and disagreements and from the frozen feet to the helmet issue to the interaction with Mike Mayock and all the ugliness after that.
Pittsburgh, let's not forget about that.
And
going MIA
too.
in the last week of the regular season in a must-win game, and then just showing up on game day and expecting to play. I didn't mean to cut you off. I was just adding to the list with you there.
But my point is this. My point is this. If you want to convince someone to give him a job next year, this is a story that may be better told behind the scenes and privately. The problem is the Buccaneers have pushed him into a corner publicly by creating the impression that this was all the product of some sort of a mental health episode by Antonio Brown.
Right.
And And that part of it, from my perspective, has been unfortunate because that's the easiest way for the Buccaneers to cover up their own potential responsibility for this by just kind of doing the gaslighting thing, just kind of, yeah, he's crazy. Don't blame us.
Right.
This guy's crazy.
Right.
He's crazy. And you're crazy if you don't think he's crazy because look at this. It's the product of crazy. I don't want to be glib about it, but I feel like to the extent the Buccaneers are trying to engineer an outcome, the outcome that they want to engineer is they want us all to think that there's something wrong with him and there's nothing wrong with them.
Yeah, no, I think that's exactly right. I mean, and you read the full statement, it sounds like, the Bucs kind of were putting the pressure on Antonio Brown and his side to basically go, no, accept that story, that it was it was mental health issues and there's no other story, and let's move on with life. So there was certainly pressure there. That's not a good look for the Buccaneers. Listen, I came away last night reading the statement in a lot of ways like, my stance from the other day. Yeah, it's hard for me to totally buy Antonio Brown at his word at this point of his career. It is. I'm sorry. I don't mean to be a jerk. I mean, I don't. I have compassion. But, yes, it's hard for me to buy. He's – it's like it's too many instances like you just went through to where do you really trust him? I'm not sure where to draw that line. So that's where, and then, I talk about, hey, I watched the game back. You don't see a limp. I sent you a clip, right, of him running a route and like he'd cut like 4 or 5 different times. You don't see anything. So
the toradol was working.
No, you're right. I'm just let me finish. I know, and that
I know, but
right.
Right, but if he's on toradol, that's the explanation.
You're right. It can make you feel as numb as possible. There's no doubt about it, and that can let you do jumping jacks in the end zone and run you out there. So what I was getting to is just that I came away also feeling bad. I didn't know how to feel. I felt bad. I do feel bad for Antonio Brown. He's obviously has some issues here. And this is a tough issue. And I do 100% realize he's got an ankle issue. I guess it's the way he went out. And then, you look at the film and some of those things. So where I came away, I guess, a little more conflicted than I expected to be. I did. And, so I came away a little bit more, I guess, feeling a little more compassion for him and maybe leaning towards his side a little bit more in this discussion or argument, maybe than I thought I would have after kind of hearing his side and him state some of the things that he stated in this comment.
Well, and the thing I keep coming back to, no matter what the two versions are, and hey, we've seen it time and again, in football, in the industry, in the broader scope of things, lies are told all the time for strategic reasons. And I'm a firm believer, and I've said this time and again, success on a football field is premised in large part on successfully deceiving your opponent, lying to your opponent, making your opponent think you're going to zig when instead you're going to zag. Everything that we see from the play action pass to the zone blitz, the Statue of Liberty, the fake punt, it's all about making your opponent think one thing and doing something else. And then that spills over to strategies that relates to personnel acquisition, from what your draft plans are, your free agent plans are. And I think that what happens a lot of times is people don't know where the line is or should be between acceptable lying and unacceptable lying. The end result is everybody's lying all the time. And one of the things we try to do is smoke out, because sometimes what is said by a coach, a GM, an owner, or a player is only truthful when it just happens to align with the strategic interest that underpins what they're saying and why they're saying it. So everybody could be lying here.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.